else who loves me like you used to. Some days I'm not myself, there's no one I can turn to. And I know all the feelings that we shared are in the past. And I know your relationships are never meant to last. It might take some time, but I'll be alright. I'm moving on, I'm moving on. I know times are tough, but I've had enough. I'm moving on, I'm moving on. Moving on, moving on. I know times are tough, but I've had enough. I'm moving on, I'm moving on. Some days there's no one else who loves me like you used to. Some days I'm not myself, there's no one I can turn to. And I know all the feelings that we shared are in the past. And I know your relationships are never meant to last. It might take some time, but I'll be alright. I'm moving on, I'm moving on. I know times are tough, but I've had enough. I'm moving on, I'm moving on.
And we are live. What is up, everyone? Hey, welcome back to my live stream. My name is Tyler Ramsby. Super excited to have you taking the time to hang out with me tonight. Do want to let you know I am live right now on 3 different platforms. You can join me on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Twitch. Over on YouTube and LinkedIn, I stream under just my name, Tyler Ramsby. And over under Twitch, I stream under the name Hack_Smarter. So LinkedIn and YouTube, Tyler Ramsby. Twitch is Hack Smarter. But yo, whatever platform you are watching from, super excited to have you here. And I also have all the chat pulled up over on the side. So whatever platform you drop a message in, I now should get all of the messages in one spot. So super excited about that. Let me go through the chat real quick and see who is all joining us. Want to say a special hello to Ralph Andre, special hello to Duck G Money and Gerby and Sleepy Ninja and Big Beef and Nefos. Scrolling, JJ, sick made this one. Hey, super excited to have you here. And Tausif, if I'm saying your name right, good morning from India. Amazing, dude. Thank you for taking the time to join me. This may or may not be the last stream before Defcon. I don't really know yet. It all depends if I feel like streaming. So like some nights I feel like streaming, other nights I just don't feel like it. If it's not going to be the last stream, tomorrow will be. So I leave for Defcon early Thursday morning, so Wednesday night I'll be packing up all my stuff, going to bed early so I can get on my flight and all that good stuff. So I may be on stream one more time tomorrow night. We'll see, but then I'll be at Defcon. Super excited to meet you all at Defcon who are going to be there, and actually have a few things I can show off for you guys that I'll be bringing to Defcon. One sec. One that, guys, I haven't even played with this yet. I have one of these cool dudes. Good old Flipper Zero. Developer stuff. I unopened. Look at that, guys. I don't know if you can see it. Unopened. I haven't even messed with it. I need to break this out And I think I'm going to bring that to Defcon, learn a little more about the flipper. I also, and this is what I'm more excited about, I bought these mics because I saw a bunch of YouTubers using them, but they're really nice. These DJI microphones. I'll show this to you guys. So this microphone is awesome. All right. I have two microphones. I saw a lot of YouTubers using these when they do like their interviews. So I have these two microphones, super high quality, wireless, but they sound really good. I mean, they almost sound like this microphone. And then I have this receiver right here. Show this to you guys. If it would turn on. Here we go. So, I don't know if you can see this or not, but it plugs into my phone, and then I can monitor all the audio from my phone. So what I want to do at Defcon is do some like lightning interviews. So these microphones, I can interview anyone portable. I'll have my phone with me for a nice... Your webcam also sounds almost like your mic. That's true. These are high-end mics, so it'll be a lot of fun. But I'll be able to do interviews with these. So I want to do some like lightning interviews with anyone and everyone at Defcon. So if you want to talk about just your background, your experience while you're at Defcon, let me know. I'm not going to force anyone to do it, but it would be a lot of fun to chat. I'll have these mics with me. Have this little thing for my phone. So my phone's camera's good, but the audio quality of my phone sucks, especially for interviews. So I got these DJI microphones. Here, I'll pull them up for you guys real quick in case anyone else wants to get one. I saw a bunch of YouTubers recommending these, and it works amazing. So I'll show them to you guys real quick. My screen is bright. I apparently don't have dark mode on. Let me see if I can find these on Amazon. So here is the exact ones I bought. I almost have it pulled up. There we go. So these ones right here. These DJI Mic 2. Some of those bigger YouTubers were recommending these. And I was like, hey, is the hype really worth it? And it is. I've done some testing on this with my other YouTube channel as well as on this YouTube channel. If you guys remember my video like a week or 2 weeks ago called like Stop Chasing Status, where I shut off my sweet Volvo and stuff, that was all recorded with this microphone and just using my phone's camera. So it's basically a fully portable recording gear and kit that I want to bring to Defcon. So we'll have these with me. We'll have the kit with me. Comes with this nice little case. Charges it while it goes. Looks like I need to charge the case itself. Let me just get this stuff put back away. But it's so nice how it hooks up so easily to my phone. I don't know if I can show this at all, but like even as I talk, it's like monitoring the levels and everything. But it sounds really nice. So we'll have all this gear with me at Defcon everywhere I go. I'll grab it in this bag. Came with this nice little carrying bag, but let me drop all this stuff in here. So guys, I'm excited. Let me know in chat how many of you are going to be at Defcon. Was going to do, while I'm still trying to do this, we were going to do a Hack Smarter meetup on Thursday night before all the craziness of Defcon starts. And we were going to meet at a place that someone recommended, I think like Cornish Pastry or something in Vegas. And so when we were originally talking, it sounded like there would be like maybe 6, maybe 10 of us who want to come to this meetup. And it ended up being 30 plus, actually closer to 40 based on the people who messaged me saying, hey, I'm coming. I'm bringing a few friends with. So what I thought would be like 5 to 10 people ended up being 40 people. And it's kind of difficult to find a meeting spot for 40 people on last minute in Vegas. So I know a few members of our community have been calling in places. We're still trying to figure out a meetup spot. The last place I talked to, most of the places said, hey, we can't accommodate a group of that size like this last minute. One group was like, yeah, I can accommodate it for $3,000. And I'm like, bro, my YouTube paychecks don't go to $3,000. So that's not going to work out well. But we're still going to try to meet up. I get to Vegas Thursday afternoon at 4 p.m. So 4 in the afternoon. And I need to meet up with my team at Rhino first to get some gear, all that good stuff. And I just need to scope out where I'm at. Like I'm good just literally picking a random spot outside. Like, hey, let's come meet out. Let's hang out. Let's get into some hacker shenanigans. But my unofficial Defcon schedule is after all the events of each day. I literally have this on my calendar called Hacker Shenanigans from 8 p.m. to 2 in the morning every single night. So if you are a night owl like me and you want to hang out at Defcon, come join me. We'll just wander around, see what we can learn, see what we can get into. But it should be a lot of fun. Tyler with the fresh cut. I did, just got a haircut actually today. Matter of fact, all ready for Defcon. Scrolling. What are we hacking today? We're going to do some Pwn Labs. I have a lab on Pwn Labs I've been wanting to do because it's very much, at least a tool that we use is something I use on every single AWS pen test. So it's a cool lab to give you a glimpse on what it's like to do AWS pen testing and give you an introduction to the tool. But I'll explain more in a little bit, but that's what we're going to do. Even if you're brand new to AWS and things like that, you won't feel lost, I promise. Camille said, hey, Tyler, how's it going? I saw a post in Discord regarding streaming notifications. How was it working? I didn't receive anything today. Well, you should be in the live stream group on Discord. If you reacted to that post, it should have added you to the live stream role. And when I went live today, I dropped a note in the announcement and tagged all the live stream people. So you should have been notified if you're in the live stream role. If that didn't work, let me know and I'll dig into it. But I didn't want to keep spamming just everyone on Discord every time I went live. But so then I just stopped posting in general. But then someone's like, hey, can I get notified? So that's why we set that up. What up, Reckless Gizmo? What up, Real Bilbo? Good to have you all here. All right. Let's get on with the program for today. I'm starting a little bit late, already 10:30 at night. I'm probably not going to be on super late. So hopefully we can knock out this lab before I want to go to bed. Let me get a drink of water. And actually, I have a few standalone videos I want to make too. If we have time, we'll make those at the end. Otherwise, I'll make those another night. I leave for Defcon Thursday morning, Bilbo. So there's a chance we'll have another stream tomorrow before Defcon, but we'll see if I feel like streaming. But I leave Thursday morning, arrive in Vegas Thursday afternoon. All right, I'm going to start recording real quick. We are going to make the standalone video. I'll do the introduction for that, and we'll dive into the lab. Here we go. Bull 88, how to get started in cyber. I'm a little confused between Kali Linux or Python. Those are two different things, and time does not permit me to explain all of that. I would recommend, just based on your question, those are completely different concepts. You should begin with Try Hack Me on the pre-security path. You need to start at the basics. Don't worry about Kali or Python. Start at pre-security and Try Hack Me. Thank you, Camille. Appreciate the kind words. I'm driving to Vegas Friday morning just for some meet and greets. The boss wouldn't give me the time off, says he doesn't promote hacking. Yo, tell your boss he's a loser. Coming from Tyler Ramsey. What a scrub. Doesn't promote hacking. Yeah, till you get hacked, homie. All right, that wasn't a threat, NSA, I promise. I might adjust my mic 1 second. Another thing I got a new preamp, although I think it's okay. Is volume good? Does everything sound good? Last time you guys told me my freaking webcam microphone sounded good, so I don't know if I trust you guys, but let me know if the audio sounds okay. The preamp I was using, give you a glimpse behind the scenes. This is not a USB microphone. It's a bit loud. Does it clip at all? I'm okay with it being loud. That's good with me. I just don't want it to clip, if you know what I mean. But this is a real microphone, not like your cheap USB microphone. This is like a legit studio microphone, but as a result, you can't plug this into a computer. So this actually goes into a preamp. See if I can grab this for you guys and show you what it looks like. So this goes into a preamp. I don't know if you can see it right here, right? So that goes into a preamp. Then this goes into my computer. So I can control the audio a little bit from the preamp, but I also have to sometimes control it from OBS, and I don't have a good way to monitor it. So that's why it's confusing. But a Stream Deck XL, does that have phantom power? Here, let me check. You guys can look with me. What a microphone like mine needs is what's called phantom power for a microphone, and so does Stream Deck XL phantom power. Here, let's find out. Dude, I was not lying about the folding table desk, Big Beef. Absolutely was not. See, like some of this stuff doesn't have phantom power because it's only the more high-end mics that need that. I'm not sure if this does. The other thing I have to keep in mind is I don't use Windows or Mac because they both suck. Okay, there's a way you can get to work on Ubuntu. Oh, the knobbed version. Gotcha. Bull 88, you need to take notes, my friend. All right. Anything else in chat? But yeah, I wasn't lying about the folding table. I mean, there's nothing sensitive. I can show you guys my setup. Every once in a while I'll show it on stream. So here's my, 6-figure content creator setup. Behind us, we have our fake brick wall I got for $20. You got my Defcon badge from last year. There we go. Got the Defcon badge hanging up there. My desk here is 2 white folding tables. Right? So you can see them. I'm not lying about the folding tables. I got a lamp. Right, this is my desk. Here's my unfinished basement. Insulation behind me. Just fake brick wall behind me. That is legit. I'm not lying in my videos, y'all. This is how I do things. Stop chasing status. Thought the brick wall was real this whole time. I know. It does a good job, doesn't it? Here, let me adjust this a little bit. So, like, in person, guys, the brick wall is clearly fake. Like, if you're here in person, it's wrinkled. It doesn't look real at all. But when it's on video, it looks legit. Like, it looks like a real brick wall. But no, my basement's not finished, but this is my office. So, yeah. Doc G Money. Spent 2 years on cardboard boxes when my wife met me. She was so done, she bought me a small desk. Hey, man. If it works, right? Adjust this mic real quick. All right, let's get into the hacking, shall we? I think actually blue team defending today, but we'll do a little bit of both, I think. Let me go ahead and start recording, and we will kick this thing off. Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. In this video, we are going to do some Pwn Lab, specifically some AWS defense, and I want to show a tool that I use in every single AWS pen testing engagement that I do. And the reason I want to show this is just because of how realistic it is. Now, in this video, we're going to go through it from a defensive posture, but I use it from an offensive standpoint when I'm doing a pen test, and I'll explain all of that as we go. And look, if you're completely new to AWS, completely new to AWS pen testing, don't click off right now. I will do my best to explain every little thing that we are going to do. And plus, you get a little bit of an intro or behind the scenes look at setting up Kali Linux for AWS pen testing. Because here's the thing. We're doing all of this from a completely new VM. I haven't even installed the AWS command line on this VM, so I'm going to show you the entire process as we work our way through it. Now, what we are going to use for our platform is a lab called Pwn Labs. Here is Pwn Labs. If you've never heard of Pwn Labs, you need to check it out at pwnlabs.io, but it really is an incredible platform. I'm not being paid to say that. I don't make sponsored videos, just really enjoy this platform. It really covered a niche that I was looking for when I was trying to learn cloud pen testing. A lot of the other labs for cloud pen testing are either a bunch of money, like thousands of dollars to get access to the lab, and you need your enterprise to pay for it, or the labs honestly just kind of suck, or they're completely self-hosted, which there's already a learning barrier there when the lab is a self-hosted lab. And during that time, I discovered Pwn Labs. Pwn Labs is founded by my good friend now, Ian Austin. He was the former director of content at Hack the Box, helped make a lot of the cloud labs over at Hack the Box, and he ventured out on his own and started Pwn Labs. So it's sort of like Hack the Box or Try Hack Me, but for the cloud. And you can notice even without a paid account, there's a bunch of free labs that you can do. We can even sort it by that. We have AWS, GCP, and Azure, so all the major ones, and we have red and blue team. There's also a cyber range where it's like a red team environment with 9 different flags spread across all of the cloud environments, and they just launched their first certification and boot camp that I'm excited to do. So I'll also be doing that. I'll give a shot at their certification on Azure pen testing, and when I do the boot camp and the certification, I'll make an entire review video giving you guys as many details as I can and giving you my thoughts on that. But really do enjoy Pwn Labs. For a paid subscription, you're looking at about $200 for the entire year, which honestly is crazy affordable compared to every other platform for learning cloud pen testing. So without any further ado, let me jump back over to this. We'll go to the lab that we are going to do. Actually, let me show you how to get to this lab. If you want to follow along and you open up the main Pwn Labs platform and you click latest labs, we are going to do this one. Remediate risks with Prowler in AWS Security Hub. Now, it is a premium lab. So if you do not have a premium sub to Pwn Labs, well, you should go get one. But if not, you just have to live vicariously through me. I'll show you the entire lab and you can learn right alongside of me. And what? We got a super chat from the one and only, the real Bilbo, Tyler's Defcon Slurpee Fund, my friend. Thank you so much for your generosity. And that's a good reminder for those of you watching, if you want to support me, you can do so in a few different ways. Over on YouTube, you can do a one-time gift via super chat like the real Bilbo just did. You can become a member. I have basic membership and a higher, I think a super member at $5 and $10 a month respectively. Over on Twitch, you can become a subscriber. And over on LinkedIn, well, you can just hang out and that works for me. However you want. I really do appreciate the support, but let's go ahead and dive into this lab. Remediate risks with Prowler in AWS Security Hub. Now, the reason I wanted to show this off is because I use Prowler on every single AWS pen test that I do to get a lay of the land of what I'm looking at. Now, generally speaking, when you do an AWS pen test, you are given 2 sets of credentials. The first set of credentials is what is called read-only access, which, as the name implies, you're able to have read access to all of the AWS resources to kind of do an audit and look at the environment. And that's what I run Prowler from to get a feel for what I am dealing with. The second set of credentials an organization normally gives you is whatever a typical developer has. Because if you read about breaches that happen in the cloud, generally a developer has their credentials breached, and then the threat actor uses the developer's credentials to do lateral movement or privilege escalation throughout the environment to grab data, exfiltrate data, and cause a data breach to happen. So that's how we do it. Read-only access, so we can just see everything quickly instead of spending a lot of time enumerating, and then developer creds, so we can see with those creds, how deep can we pivot into this AWS environment, and Prowler is a tool we use for that. So if you want to get into AWS pen testing, remember the name Prowler, because at your next interview, if you mention that you have hands-on experience using Prowler to audit and identify vulnerabilities in the AWS environment, you're already going to be a step ahead of a lot of people going through that interview process. But before we do anything, like I shared before, this is a fresh VM. So we have some credentials we need, but we can't even use those right now without first installing what is called the AWS CLI, or the AWS command line interface. Now, to install that, we can just go over to our handy dandy Google and we'll type AWS CLI install, and it will bring us over to this. And it says install or update to the latest version of the AWS CLI, and it's super easy. We can just follow these instructions. So we'll scroll down. We are Linux 64-bit, and it says follow these requirements. So we can literally just copy these commands, open up our terminal, and we will paste in our commands. Let's see if it works. It's doing its magic. We'll type in our password. Okay. And it's crazy how easy it is. That's all there is to it, y'all. So now we do AWS version, and we have the AWS CLI installed. Congratulations. You are on the way to doing some AWS pen testing. Now, because this is a new VM, I'm going to make a directory for Pwn Labs. We'll CD over to Pwn Labs. We'll make a directory. We'll just call this one Prowler for now. Go over to Prowler, and now we are good to go. I'm just going to name this my terminal. in case we open up new tabs, but we are good to go to get started with the lab. Now, when it comes to AWS, one of the first questions is, well, how do you authenticate to AWS from the command line environment or from your Linux terminal? Well, to do that, we need something called an access key ID and a secret. I want you to think about these like a username and a password. Our access key ID is our username. In and of itself, it's not overly sensitive. Like really the only thing you can do with it is get someone's AWS account ID, which once again, not the best idea, but not overly sensitive by any means. But what is sensitive is a secret access key. If you have someone's secret access key, you can authenticate to their AWS environment. This is often leaked when you're looking at code commits and things like that, or if you can do an SSRF on a EC2, so a AWS virtual machine, you might be able to get credentials like this. But now that we have an access key ID and a secret access key, let's go ahead and authenticate and make sure everything works. The way we are going to do that is in our terminal, we can do AWS configure, and generally we will specify a profile. So we'll specify a profile, and I said before, we're often given like developer credentials, so we'll just call this dev. And it's going to prompt us for our AWS access key ID. So I'm going to paste that in. We want to give our secret key. So we'll go ahead and copy our secret key there. We'll paste that in. And this is going to ask for our region. Now in AWS, as well as other cloud providers, you normally spawn resources in different regions in that cloud environment. And depending on the lab, we might have to set this to a specific region. And I believe in this lab we do. We need to set it to the US West 2 region. So let's go ahead and type that in, US West 2. Output format is fine. And there we go. Now to see if our authentication worked correctly, in Linux you can type something like who am I? Super easy to get your creds or ID to see what groups that you are in. But in AWS, they do everything they can to make it a lot more confusing. So in AWS, if you want to figure out who the heck am I, we have to do this long command. AWS sts get caller identity profile, and then whatever profile we set up. And there we go. With that information, we can see that we have successfully authenticated. We have our user ID, we have our account number, and we have our ARM, which is like a unique identifier of our Antonio users, apparently who we're authenticated to in AWS. With that information, we can get started with the lab. Now, a few things I want to point out when it comes to Pwn labs. A lot of the labs are suitable for what is called a CTF approach. So think about a hack the box or a try hack me challenge machine where you're just given a scope, you're given an IP, you're given creds, and it's up to you to dig into it. But even those have a full detailed walkthrough on Pwn labs. So if you're brand new to the cloud, you will not get lost. You'll still be able to work through it. But other labs are more like walkthrough labs. So I want you to picture like a try hack me room or a hack the box academy module where it walks you through and you learn as you go. That's what this is. You can see it's not suitable for a CTF approach. All right, let's scroll down. We are implementing Prowler, a tool that enables us to assess, audit, and enhance the security of huge logistics AWS cloud environment. To provide a centralized reporting platform, we will ingest the findings into AWS Security Hub. A lot of new terms, we'll come back to these, and create an automated remediation workflow for specific findings. Now, when it comes to learning AWS, I agree with Doc G Money. AWS seems so complicated, it freaking is. Like ChatGPT is amazing for helping me remember syntax, as well as tools like Paku, developed by the greatest pen testing firm around called Rhino Security Labs, which automates a lot of your enumeration and privilege escalation. But by and far, Doc G Money, AWS is complicated, especially working from the command line. And at least for me, I have not found a good fix for that besides muscle memory. But even with that, you're not meant to memorize all of that crazy AWS syntax. At least I don't think you are. I'm constantly looking at AWS docs or ChatGPT to get the right syntax for what I'm doing. So it's less important to know the specific syntax and more important to understand AWS and some of the attack paths possible and also how to defend it. And once again, the best way to get to that point is just muscle memory, doing lab after lab after lab after lab and exposing yourself to some of this information. One of the things you'll come across is you'll come across things that like you just haven't heard of before. This one at least makes sense, but AWS has a habit of naming things that don't make any freaking sense. Like you read the AWS name, you're like, what? That doesn't mean anything. And the tool, like you can't identify the tool by the name because AWS likes to be cute or something. I have no idea, but apparently I need to log off of Steam. Maybe I should do that. Give me just a second. Y'all probably don't want to see everyone start playing games on Steam. Let me jump off of Steam real quick. Exit Steam. Thought I had notifications disabled for Steam, but apparently that is not the case. All right, here we go. Back over to our lab. So when you find something that doesn't make sense, we can grab AWS Security Hub for an example and just Google it, and we can learn about what is AWS Security Hub, and we can also chat GPT it to ask what it is. So it provides us with a comprehensive view of your security state in AWS, helps you assess your AWS environment against security industry standards and best practices, almost like a sim in some ways, like a small sim that you're able to play around with. How often do I use PowerShell or Python during a pen test? Python pretty often for scripting and putting some tools together. PowerShell not so often. I use PowerShell when I do an internal pen test and I need to do things from Windows, I'll use PowerShell. Or if I'm doing Azure pen testing, I'll use a little more PowerShell. But Python definitely a lot more. All right, let's scroll through here. Here's our real world context. I already gave you a little bit of it, but cloud security posture management solutions are essential for orgs to gain visibility, scale, and maintain a secure and compliant cloud environment. Additionally, many orgs must adhere to industry standards such as NIST, CIS, HIPAA, and more. Prowler can provide a comprehensive overview of a cloud environment and be further customized. It's really cool, guys. Let me just show it to you. So this is walking through how to set up the keys. So if you didn't know how to do that, once again, brand new to AWS, you'd be able to do that. And now we are going to install Prowler. It has some steps here on how to do it, but let's just go directly to Prowler ourselves and see how to install it. So here we are. Prowler is an open source blah, blah, here we go, to perform AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and Kubernetes security best practices. So if you know Prowler, you can use it on all the different cloud environments to do very similar things. So we have some information on how to use it. We have our dashboard, but let's go ahead and see how to install it. We have a package with pip. Now, I have learned the hard way that when you want to install packages via pip or just use Python tools in general, you should set up a Python virtual environment so you don't break all your other tools in your environment. And I don't even think I have that tool installed because it's called pipx, and you can see it's not installed. So let's first begin by installing pipx so we can install this in a virtual environment, which is best practices when using Python tools. We can do that with sudo apt install pipx. I'm pretty sure that's the syntax, and it all looks good. We'll hit Y for continue. We're at 90. Oh, there we go. All right, beautiful. And now we can make sure we have it, and we do. Now, super easy to do this. Instead of pip, we're just going to use pipx, okay? So here's what we're going to do. Pipx install Prowler. And then when you do it that way, you don't break any other Python tools or Python dependencies, depending on what you have. If each tool is installed in a pipx environment, it'll just run well. And once the install is complete, it works just like any other tool. We have different ways of installing it. Once again, I recommend pipx. Super easy to do it that way. Let's jump back over to our lab, and we will go ahead and look at this. So Prowler has many different options which can be viewed by running the following command. If you swap AWS for Azure or GCP, you could see it there. So we'll check this out once it is done. It is slowly installing. It will eventually install. I hope it will eventually install. I don't remember how long this took the last time I did it, but it was a while ago since I used it all the time. But since this is a fresh VM, that is what's taking us a little bit longer. Come on, Prowler. I believe in you. What's my local pip cache? Well, probably not much right now because this is a brand new VM. Well, I guess while it does that, we can read about Prowler, give a little more of a deep dive into it from their GitHub. It's super cool what it can do. So we'll see this a little bit on our own, but once we spin things up, we can look at things like in a dashboard and get our entire environment, and there's different scans we can throw at it. So you can see some of it here, all the checks that it does. So for example, with AWS, we have 385 checks it's going to do, and it's going to check for best practices when it comes to security. So it's going to check things like S3 buckets and Lambda functions and secrets and things like that. We can if we are like HIPAA compliant, we need to be, we can do list compliance and do a HIPAA scan on it to see everything that falls into those categories as we scan it. And that's true across the board. Now, I've only used Prowler on AWS and Azure. I haven't used it on GCP. I'm trying to remember if I've used it on Kubernetes. I have done some Kubernetes pen testing, but not a lot. And I always have to Google a bunch of stuff when I do it. And I don't remember if I use it on Kubernetes at all. Just still installing Prowler. See if there's anything else here. So you can run it from your workstation, a Kubernetes job, a Google Compute Engine, Azure VM, an EC2 instance, Fargate, basically anything. Okay. And we have some documentation, so it might be helpful to have this pulled up as we work our way through it. Sure, I'll accept your cookies. Hey, it's done. Awesome. So these apps are now globally available. Note, this is not in your path environment. These will not be globally accessible until your path is updated. Run pitbacks ensure path to automatically add it. All right. There we go. Blah, blah. You'll need to open a new terminal or re-log in for the source changes. Alternately, you can source your shell's config file. Guides us through what we need to do. Okay, don't do that. Let's see if I can type. There we go. We have Prowler installed. We are using the latest version. We can jump back into our lab. So let's jump back over to here. And we're just going to begin by looking at what information we can get from AWS. So Prowler, AWS profile, and then help. So Prowler, AWS, give it our profile. Mine is dev, and we'll type help to see what access we have. So you can see we have a bunch of things that we can do. I mean, it would be a little overwhelming to read through all of it, but we can set output formats. We can set output level. What's most helpful is here's all of our compliance. Like whatever compliance we are doing, we are able to do that with Prowler to see what information we need and what things we need to fix in our AWS environment, Azure environment, GCP environment. Super helpful tool. Generally, I just run it with the main compliance checks. I don't do anything special with that. And we can check the compliances, which we already kind of looked at, so we won't do that. And here we have some more parameters. So the region parameter can be used to specify the region to scan. I shared before in AWS as well as other cloud providers like Azure or I believe GCP as well, you spin up resources in specific regions and they only exist in that region. And so if you want to check things in a region, you have to specify the region. No banner can be used to hide the Prowler banner in the output. The CIS, or Center for Internet Security Benchmarks, are a great place to start when wanting to understand the posture of your environment. Let's run the CIS 1.4 benchmark. So you can see our syntax here. Although we could copy and paste it, I always think it's good to type it all out just for our own muscle memory. So let's type this out together. We'll do Prowler, AWS, profile, dev, compliance, and then we're going to specify what compliance we want to do from that list. So CS 1.5 AWS, our region is US West 2, and yeah, we can do no banner as well. So let's type all that out, hit enter, and it will take just a little bit to run. But it's nice. It shows us what it's doing. So it says, hey, we are using these creds. We're doing dev, our region US West 2. Here's our account. Here's our user ID. Here's our caller identity ARN. And look, it's already done, giving us some of this information. Now, it gives us different results in different formats. We can do JSON, CSV, and HTML. What I really like is the HTML format. So let's go ahead and open this up. We can copy this, and I'll just type something like Firefox and that path. And I bet I have my Foxy proxy on. Is it on? No, it's not. Beautiful. So here is our HTML format, and it even color codes it for us. So if we wanted to sort, for example, by high and by status failed, this would be a good way to start. So we have one example right here. We'll just look at a few of these. We have a status of fail, a severity of high on an S3 bucket. Now, an S3 bucket in AWS is how you store data. I try to think of it like FTP in the cloud, and it says it allows public access. Now, public access on an S3 bucket is a really bad deal, especially if you're storing sensitive data in there. That's what the Capital One breach was caused by. And it says, hey, you might want to check the S3 account level public access. It gives us our resource ID. Status extended, blah, 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 blah. Same with this. We have resource ID information, our bucket information, and we can go through here and just see what is all going on here. Here's some contact details, security questions. That's not going to affect us, but it also tells us here are some ways we pass. So for example, we pass because our S3 bucket has default encryption, and the check is make sure it has default encryption enabled or use a bucket policy to enforce it. So the way I use this in pen testing is I run this type of scan against the environment. So I have a very quick feel of how secure their environment is and some things that I can dig into quicker. So right now, if I was doing a pen test on here, I would definitely want to dig into their S3 buckets and see what information I would be able to gain access to. But we can also send this directly to Security Hub on the blue team side of things. So Prowler is a tool, of course, a pen tester can use, but it's an invaluable tool on the blue team side of things. So we can take these findings, send it over to Security Hub, which is kind of like a SIM built into AWS, and then assign tickets to our security team to remediate some of these issues. So let's go ahead and do that. If we look over at our lab, it's going to walk us through probably things I already did. And here we go. We can rerun the scan with the Security Hub flag to send the findings to Security Hub. So let's go ahead and do that. Did they even do that here? Am I blind? Oh yeah, it's at the end. I am obviously really blind. So we'll send it over to Security Hub. We'll close out Firefox, I'll clear, and I'm going to do the up arrow on my keyboard just to go back to our command, and we will send this over to Security Hub. Hey, what up, Sandcalps? Good morning. It's great to finally catch your live stream. Watching your video sets the tone for emphasizing learning. Thanks for uploading content. You are a relentless beast. Kudos. Hey, dude, thank you so much for the kind words. Really do appreciate it. But there we go. It should have sent our stuff over to Security Hub. Yep, 6 findings sent over to Security Hub. Now we need to set a password for our user. Kind of unrealistic. We probably would have one. But because we're in a lab environment, our AWS profile does not have a password. So we need to go ahead and set that. We can clear that out. And we're going to set our password with this command. So we'll do AWS IAM update login profile. Give it our username of Antonio. We use the profile dev, but our username itself is Antonio. We'll do the same password I use for my bank account, hacksmarter123, and do profile dev. Fingers crossed, I think that worked. And now AWS STS get caller identity because we need to know the account ID to log into the AWS environment. Now with that information, we'll jump over to here. We'll do AWS console login like so. And we'll do an IAM user. We need to give it our account ID, which we just got from our STS command. So we'll grab that, drop it over to here, drop in our account ID. And our IAM username is Antonio and hacksmarter123 to sign in. And I'm just going to pull this out so I can quickly tab back and forth between these. Yo, what is up, Casually Joseph? Good to have you here, my friend. Hey, we're doing things right up your alley again tonight. We are doing some blue team, but in the cloud, doing some vulnerability management in the cloud. But now that we have the password set for our user, we should be able to check out our Security Hub findings. Let's change our region over to US West 2 because that is where our resources are at. And let's go ahead and search for Security Hub. And once again, for those of you just jumping on the live stream, Security Hub, I kind of think of it as almost like a SIM, like a mini SIM for AWS. Not as good as a SIM, but it at least gives us some vulnerability information from Prowler. So we showed how to use Prowler, send our vulnerabilities over to the AWS Security Hub. And you can imagine if we were doing this in the real world, let's say that we are a security lead of the team, we would take these findings and make tickets in Jada or whatever ticketing software we use. So we'd make tickets and we could assign these tickets to security members of our team, and they could go and remediate these findings that we found with Prowler, doing a change control process or whatever the process is at their organization. We can go over to findings here. It might take a little bit for it to actually jump in here. We might just have to hang out for a little bit. Let me check the lab to see if I'm right on that. You should start to see the findings come in from Prowler, but this can take a few minutes to process. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You safely ignore the warning message error while fetching administrator account information. So here we are waiting for Prowler to do something for us. Insights, findings, summary, findings, It will eventually come through. Maybe we can do some things manually, though, while we wait. Cassie just said, I never touched AWS. All of my schooling was Azure like 2 years ago. Hey, man, there's never a better time than the present. I do both AWS and Azure pen testing. Both are fun. Doc G Money's off to bed, taking the OSAP in a little less than 12 hours now. Amazing, dude. Hey, let me know on Discord how it goes. Send me a DM. Would love to hear from you and hear how the exam goes for you. I'm going to jump out of here because we can go ahead and look at some of these findings manually. Is this done yet? Oh. So this is showing at least some insight stuff. Oh, we see the findings here. Maybe, here, let me try to do view insight. Maybe that will work. Error in fetching insight. Maybe that won't work. How if I click this? Does this do anything? That just jumps over to my findings. I think it's just going to take a little bit for our findings to populate. But remember, we were able to see our findings ourselves if we go back to Firefox. So we can look at these findings manually while we wait for it to populate in AWS Security Hub. So once again, let's sort by severity. We'll sort by status failed. And the first thing we see is that one of our S3 accounts allows public access or it's not explicitly disabled. In other words, whoops, did not mean to open both of them. So let's jump back over to AWS and we can just search for S3 and we can check this out ourselves. You upgrade something, you're streaming at 60 FPS like a baller. Don't I normally stream at 60 FPS or do I not? I don't know, dude. I am using Restream for once instead of just everything in OBS. I'm still using OBS. Like the back end is all OBS. I'm just jumping it through Restream. Also, I'm on Ubuntu. Last week I was on Windows. I'm completely out of the Windows ecosystem, which I couldn't be happier. I have Ubuntu on this computer, Ubuntu on my work computer, Linux Mint on my personal laptop. I'm so happy to not be on Windows anymore. But here we go. We have this bucket right here. We go ahead and click into this bucket, and it does have some customer export information. So yeah, we probably don't want that exposed. If we go over to permissions here, here is our issue. Block all public access, individual block settings. So this is what it's finding, that it's not blocking public access, but that doesn't necessarily mean that our I cannot talk. That does not necessarily mean that our bucket is exposed to the public. It's just not blocked by default. We could have other policies that are stopping this from being exposed. But let's go ahead and check this out. Let's see if we can get this to pull up. And in the meantime, I'll answer some questions. In this lab, what is our goal or our target? So in this lab, we have our blue team hat on and we're doing vulnerability management. We use Prowler on the AWS command line interface or the CLI, and we use Prowler to discover some findings based on a CIS benchmark. And we have some things in our AWS environment that are out of our benchmark. And so now what we are doing is we're putting on our blue team hat and we're going to work on remediating those findings if Security Hub would hurry up and do its thing and give me the findings. Gaming via Proton, yes. Now, I don't do a whole lot of gaming. One of the only games I play is Elder Scrolls Online, and I already played that today with no issues on Ubuntu. I didn't have to do anything special. I just installed it like on Windows, and it worked beautifully. No issues at all. I'm going to try to load findings again. Maybe if I like hard refresh it, it will do something. I feel like I need to poke it with a stick. Otherwise, let's just look for it at the lab and we can manually do our remediation. This is what it should look like if it would hurry up and do its thing. Once again, not a Pwn Labs thing, an AWS being slow thing, I believe. I actually did this lab offline. Usually I do these labs completely blind, but I did this lab offline probably about a month ago when it first came out. And so I do remember it taking a little bit, but when or if it works, this is what it will look like. Very similar to what we saw here, right? So we can see a lot of the information right here. It's just putting it in Security Hub 4. So let me jump back over to this, right? We can see our finding. We can see the severity. We can see our workflow status, our record state, the region, although we're in US West 2. Is that an issue? I think I'm supposed to be in US West 2. Maybe that's an issue. Account ID, company, blah, blah, the resource, whether or not it failed, and when it was updated at. Am I in the wrong region? I can't imagine it. We send it from US West 2. Let me just scroll up. US West 2, Open AWS Console, blah, blah. Take a few minutes to process. Man, it's been longer than a few minutes at this point. I'm going to try one more thing. Let's log out. Log back in, trying to kickstart. This is like when I restart a computer. Go like this, and Antonio Hack Smarter 123, same as my Twitch account if you guys want to log in. Security Hub. We can ignore that error. So like it's pulling up on here, right? We have our affected resources. We have our findings down here. But like if I try to open the findings, that is where it fails. So we have some information here. Clearly our S3 bucket needs some help. We have a critical finding. Oh no, just a high finding. So one would think when I open findings, it would work. Right? Maybe I need to remove the search that's adding on here. But it's just stuck. Lame. How about custom actions? Does that work? So we can at least do custom actions. I'm going to keep... We'll see if we can figure this out, but I don't think there's anything I personally can do to fix this. The beauty of the cloud. All right, so summary works. Insight works, I think. It is just not getting to the findings. It said a couple of minutes, but I think it's been longer than a couple of minutes. Man. And we might not be able to actually complete the lab without this working, because we use some custom actions to remediate things. We'll give it a shot, I guess, and just see what happens. We'll let it load in the background. So we have one finding that there are no EBS volumes unencrypted, blah, blah, blah. Let me just scroll through this lab, guys. I want to see if it's even going to be possible to do this. Yeah, no, we're going to have to use Security Hub to remediate it, and I think we are going to have to get our findings to work. Scroll. We can set all that up. We have some Lambda stuff. I'll explain all of this when it gets to that point. So we do have to go back to our findings in order to get it to work. And findings is just broken. It might be an IAM issue, but I don't know. I did this lab, like I said, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it worked no issues, but it is AWS, so maybe AWS updated something on their end that stopped the lab from working. I have no idea. But I think, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make a standalone video about this lab for YouTube if we can't get findings to work. RIP. Oh well. I have some other videos I want to make tonight, so we'll make those. Yeah, I'm going to stop recording. Rest in peace, this lab. Also going to ping, real quick, I'm going to ping the Pwn Labs team on Discord just so they're aware of it. I don't know if it's a just me issue, but I don't know anything I could have done differently to make this happen. It's just literally not using findings. And I think I've probably waited, 15, 20 minutes at this point? Give me just a second, guys. I'm going to let them know about it in case they want to check it out. If Discord would open. All right. Give me just a second. Okay, I let them know about it. And yeah, still not doing anything. Oh, you gotta be at the airport at 6? Sweet, dude. Looking forward to meet you at Defcon. Guys, I need to take off my sweatshirt. The real hacking's gonna start. All right. Now, I have a few standalone videos I want to make that I think will be fun to make, but it might take me a little bit of setup to do it. One of them is over on Discord, the Hack Smarter Discord, when people were doing the one of the new Hack the Box Seasons rooms. They found some malicious GitHub. I believe it was a malicious GitHub that had the same CV they were trying to find. And the GitHub was actually installing a crypto miner on the background, and just thought it would be fun to look at that and show, like, here's why you don't install random GitHub things. So I'm going to get all this stuff set up real quick for that video, and it will be fun to talk about that. Let me get it pulled up on Hack Smarter. I'm going to get all the links pulled up. They managed to report the GitHub, and GitHub thankfully stopped it, but there's a bunch of other ones. So I'm going to get these links pulled up in the Wayback Machine so we can look at all of it together. And then I'll share my screen. What up, Misty Eyed? Good to have you here, my friend. You guys can watch if you want while we get this to pull up. Can I get this to load too? Where can we get your song? You can get it on the description of that video. I mean, I have multiple songs. I'm guessing you're talking about Black Hoodie On. Got the Cali booted up and it's time to hack. Got the IP in scope, now I attack. That one. Go to the video on YouTube. In the description, I have a free download link. Let's close this out. Close this out. All right, now I'm going to switch over to Discord. Let me get Discord all ready to go. Can I zoom in on Discord? Can I make the text bigger somehow? Let me see if I can. Go to user settings. Appearance. Chat font scaling. Oh, zoom level. Oh yeah, there we go. Hey guys, give me a second. Need to find the spot where everybody was talking about that. Okay, I think I got it all pulled up. We'll make a standalone video for it. This should be a fun one. All right, here we go. So one of the things you are warned about when you're getting into your journey on pen testing and ethical hacking is do not randomly download and fire off scripts you found on GitHub. Now we've all heard that advice, but let's be honest. Many of us, myself included, are guilty of doing that very thing. We are working on a CTF. We find a CVE that we think it might be vulnerable to, but it's not working. So we just go, we type in the CVE number and do GitHub after it into Google. We pull up a bunch of different repositories, GitHub repositories, and we just fire off the code as we try to break into the machine. We just kind of spray and pray and hope something sticks and we're able to really get into the machine. Well, I found a real world example of why this is a terrible idea, and you really should look at the code before you fire it off, not just in the CTF, but especially so if you're doing it in a client environment. One of the worst things that you can do is fire off code that you do not know the source of and that you have not read yourself. Now, I am part of the Hack Smarter community, which you should be too, coolest community around, and we have a Discord server as well as an active CTF team on various platforms, including Hack the Box. Now, I want to give kudos over to this community because I just saw this chat as people were working through one of the latest, I believe it was one of the latest Hack the Box Seasons machines or a Hack the Box machine. They found this exploit right here. Digging this stuff, I believe, for Apache 1 server. And Fiction said, FYI, I was looking for a CVE that I found one of the first GitHub exploits is actually installing a crypto miner. Glad I read the code before. And for every Fiction who read the code, there are 100 people who did not read the code and just fired it off. Suspect said, hey, I was just reading the code for that. Here's the link for that repo. So we have this repo. We're going to check it out ourselves and we will dig into what's going on. But let's just look at the conversation. We have Suspect, a little more brave, said, I install it just for fun and it only creates a cron job. And in the home directory creates xconfig and renames the miner to .x. So a hidden file with the dot in front of it. Artho said, can it even mine something without a GPU? Valid question because you're in a virtual machine. Suspect says it mines Monero. Okay, the miner says it's unified CPU, GPU. Suspect said, in my case, when I run the script, it uses 100% of my CPU. And Artho says, well, that should weed out the folks who don't read the code. And yeah, the cron job is meant to start the miner at reboot. Should report it. Yeah, let's report it. I just sent off a report. And I can't get to this in my Wayback Machine because it has been deleted. But one of the issues is the exploit works fine, but is it possible to remove the miner from the code? That's pretty good advice. And then now I see the guy who created the script have another one, and again, it's mining. Like, just to point out that your mom is a good woman. Amazing, yes. That's a very good compliment or insult. I don't know. But here's the thing. This is a very common thing that you will see in the real world of attacks like this happening. So let's go ahead and look at it. I didn't even think about this. This is almost like I don't know if you would call it a watering hole attack, but if you are monitoring the latest Hack the Box Seasons machine, when that machine comes out, a lot of people are looking for the exploits behind it in order to get into the machine to get those flags. Now, if you are a threat actor and you want to kind of do a watering hole attack and exploit all of these attackers or CTF players looking for this, you could do what this person did. Unethical, terrible idea, but probably effective, unfortunately. So let's look into what this malicious GitHub looked like, trying to target people looking for this CVE. We begin with some very clearly AI text, a culinary delight, exploiting the digital vulnerabilities of CVE 2024-81757 in Apache. So this repo, I'm not going to read it because it's so AI, but we'll read a little bit of it. This repository contains a tantalizing appetizer for those with the refined palette for digital security. It serves as a guide to a newly discovered vulnerability, a subtle flaw that graces versions of the Apache web server with a touch of delectable danger. First, if your LinkedIn posts sound like this, quit writing your LinkedIn posts with AI. It drives me freaking insane, but you can see it's very much AI. The ingredients of exploitation. First, we have our repo, the foundation of our digital culinary endeavor, and, of course, our crypto miner. So it says to git clone and then cd over to it. We need a Python interpreter, which is like a delicate concoction. They really went hard on the AI right here. The culinary art of exploitation. Target selection, exploiting script, serving the dish, blah, blah, blah. But let's go ahead and look at this script. And before I say anything, let me just scroll through this script. And I want to see, do you notice anything that might be out of the ordinary here? We'll just scroll if my computer would scroll, right? I'll be quiet as I do it. You guys think about it. Whoops, it's kind of being buggy. Give you a second. Did you catch it? Let's go through this code together. So in the beginning of the code, we are importing libraries. Nothing out of the ordinary here, depending on what libraries the exploit needs to work. But we're importing different libraries. Of course, one library that should catch our eye is the OS library. Now, it might be needed for this exploit, we don't know, but the OS library allows the Python code to interact with the operating system. So that is one kind of little warning flag that should stand out to us. We're setting up a function right here that's really just getting our target. It's parsing out the target for us. And we even have some code here. It parses the target input and extracts the host name and the port. This threat actor, based on what I saw in a Twitter thread, just took this from a working exploit and added their malicious code to it. So all of this up here is legit. Nothing crazy or malicious is going on up here. We have the payload. This is where the exploit's logic should be. It should create a crafted HTTP request to exploit that. In this case, we're just returning a placeholder string. So it's going to say whether or not the target is vulnerable. It's going to go ahead and try to send the payload. It's going to do your default socket library to open up that socket to send and do that network communication. If it errors out, it's going to say error during exploitation. And now we have our exploit. If the target is known, so that means if you try to run this without passing an IP, it's just going to tell you, yo, please provide a valid URL or IP port combination. It's going to try to send it, and if it errors out, it's going to error. And then we have a bunch of obfuscation going on the payload to make it a little more difficult to understand. Nothing super interesting here, just doing the obfuscation. You can read through it, some random stuff it's doing, going through the payload multiple times and coding it with random hex characters, blah, 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 blah. But here we go. Here's what's interesting. At above, we imported the OS library, and I don't see anything here that needs that, but here we have this. If not, so if this path does not exist, do this. Run this, subprocess run, git clone from this repo that has been deleted. I can't actually look at this repo myself because it's been deleted. Here, I'll zoom out a little bit. And I tried to look at it with the web archive, and that didn't work either. But we have this white hat repo, and it's getting something from here, a file. Then what it's doing is it's changing our directory to C. Then we are making the c.fordown.sh, this bash script executable. And then it's running this bash script. And then it's removing the directory we made, and then it's renaming it to the .c, kind of like what we saw on GitHub. And this, in the background, is serving as a crypto miner. Now, what's probably most malicious about this, not just the fact that it's a crypto miner, but this code up here is legit. This is a working payload, a working POC that if you found this CVE, you would actually be able to use this POC to exploit the vulnerability that you found. But in the process, you are installing a crypto miner on your machine, and you will hopefully notice that you have 100% CPU. And there's a lot more malicious things a threat actor could do besides a crypto miner. Think about backdoor, setting up SSH keys, enabling persistence. A lot of people, when they're doing CTFs, are doing this with root privileges. So whatever the user is running with from the root privileges, well, that script is going to have root privileges as well. So crypto mining is honestly pretty innocent compared to what this threat actor really could have done. But this is a lesson for all of us. Before you install random code from GitHub, whether it's a CTF or especially in a client environment, make sure you read through the code. Make sure you look for some of those libraries that may be out of the ordinary. And one of the most common questions I get is, hey, Tyler, do I need to be a programmer in order to be a pen tester? And I always tell them, you don't need to know how to program, but you need to know how to do two things. One, you need to know how to write basic scripts to automate the boring stuff, especially with Python. So you need to know how to write scripts, and you need to know how to read code. Because when you're firing off exploits, when you're looking at CVEs, especially a new CVE like one from 2024, before, you need to be able to read through the code, understand what is going on, and making sure some person on the other side of the internet is not trying to exploit you or exploit your excitement of getting that next flag or popping that vulnerability in a client's environment. That's a good way, honestly, to get fired if you're running code that you do not know about and you cause damage to a client environment, or is this a good way to have your VM pwned? Or please don't do CTFs from your host machine, but also your host machine pwned, depending on what your setup is like. So a big thank you to those of you on the Hacksmarter Discord who pointed that out to me. Not even just to me, just dropped in the chat and I happened to notice it. Really cool and unique way that you might get pwned if you are running scripts without reading the script ahead of time. So hope you found this video helpful, and I will see you guys in the next one. Crazy stuff, y'all. Nox Lumen said they found this while working through a CTF. Yeah, I can just show you more of the chat. Let me get Discord pulled up. This was from the CTF team channel in the Hacksmarter Discord, and they're having this conversation about it, right? I'm done with the new box for today. Let's do some Hack the Box Academy. So I haven't done this box, but one of the machines must have required this CVE. And then they're saying, how do we report it? All three of their repos contain the miner. And here's how to report it. And they did it. They reported it, and it got rid of it. Fiction said I've read more than 300 new GitHub repos that are like that. But crazy. And then here is me, just from today. Great find. It's actually a great real-world example of not firing off code from GitHub. I'm going to create a short YouTube video on this, which you guys just witnessed. You can still see the full repo and code on the Wayback Machine. And every single one of the 4 repos had the same thing. Pretty wild. One of the issues was like, the exploit works, but can you remove the miner from the code? So someone could easily fire it off and be none the wiser. Crazy. Crazy, crazy. Have another standalone video I want to make based on one of the machines we did recently, the blue team machine we did on Try Hack Me. I wanted to do a standalone machine about some of the logs that were there and just give people a challenge to see if they could identify the attack that's going on based on the log. So let me go ahead and just get logged in to Try Hack Me real quick. Oh, Tyler downloads, sudo openvpn, my name. And then this will be the last standalone video we make because it's getting late and I need to go to bed. It just takes a minute to boot up this machine. And if you guys haven't done this machine, I'll share my screen. This is a lot of fun. This API Wizards Breach machine, I did it on stream, I think was that Saturday night or something, but it's a blue team incident response machine. There was one question on it that really drove me crazy. For those of you who were on the stream for that, you saw me like lose my mind, and I literally quit the machine and then came back to it while on stream. I posted a note about that on Discord, and Try Hack Me very quickly responded, and they added a hint to make the question a lot more clear. So like, kudos to Try Hack Me, really appreciate that. The Mr. Wheatley, it says you posted a chat, but I can't see the message. Let's go to... Oh, is it because I'm looking at a restream? Let me look this up. What is up, Blaze Bits and the Mr. Wheatley? Good to have you all here. What is up? Thank you for the raid. Amazing. I'm actually about to sign off pretty soon. I'm just making one more standalone video for the YouTube side of things. But this is weird. When you guys raid, I can't see the emojis. I was looking at the chat in Restream. I have it pulled up on Twitch now. But thank you so much for the raid. Good to have all of you here. We just attempted to do one lab that seemed to be broken. And I just showed off a malicious GitHub that some people in the Hacksmarter community found. There was a Hack the Box Seasons machine. You'll see this video if you watch on my YouTube channel. But there was a Hack the Box Seasons machine. And it had a recent exploit, and the top GitHub repo for that exploit had a crypto miner in it. And so we just got done analyzing the code and giving some instructions on when you're firing off code from GitHub, don't pwn yourself and make sure you read the code ahead of time. So just got done showcasing all of that. So you guys missed that, but if you don't follow me on YouTube, you should. I'll be releasing that video probably this week. but YouTube is my main platform. If you go to youtube.com, Tyler Ramsby, I will drop that video with all the details on the malicious hack the box CVE crypto miner code stuff that was quite interesting. So go sub to me on YouTube and you'll be able to watch that video when it comes out. We're just about to sign off, but I did this API Wizards breach room on Saturday and completed it then. Kind of a cool blue team incident response room, but I wanted to make a very short room. Lisa said, I had a friend that when he published a PLC code, he put a trailing RM remove everything command. That sounds like a very nice person. That's crazy. But when we were doing this room, a very minor part of it was doing a log review on Nginx logs. And in the log review, you could see the specific attacks that were being done. And I thought it was a cool, kind of very much easy example, but a cool way to see, like, look at these logs and tell me what attack is being done. So this is going to be a very short video, and then we're going to sign off. I just need to get back onto this machine. So here is our IP. We will go ahead and SSH in as dev. Yes, and dev 455. If you're interested in this machine as well, I released on, I think, Monday. Oh, today's Monday. I think yesterday, Sunday night, my full live attempt and walkthrough of this blue team room. But also, for those of you new, I know you joined over from the raid. What I do in Hack Simulator Live is generally I work through labs and machines in real time, giving my full thought process and methodology. But this is also the time when I make shorter standalone videos for my YouTube page. So I randomly do like another introduction, even though we're already live. And that introduction is because I started hitting record for YouTube. That's how I make all my standalone videos on YouTube. And let me just make sure all this stuff is here. All right. All looks good. I'm going to start recording for YouTube, and then we will dive into things. Let's see. I'm trying to think of how I want to do my introduction. Although I am a pen tester and I do ethical hacking for a living, I still try to do the best I can to get up to date and stay up to date on blue team labs and blue team methodology for a few different reasons. One is, as a pen tester, at the end of every pen test, we do what is called a debrief, where I sit down with the client, usually with their security team, I share my screen, and I walk them through the report step by step, explaining this is the vulnerability I found, this is how I exploited it. But one of the things I share is, here are some suggested ways to remediate it in your environment. Now, if I don't know blue team and I don't know defense, well, it's kind of hard to answer questions about how to remediate something in the blue team world. So I'm always trying to do blue team labs for that purpose, but also when it comes to pen testing, there's not really a subset, but more advanced level of pen testing called red teaming. So pen testing and red teaming are not the same thing. Pen testing is very much time limited. You can be as noisy as you want. You just want to find as many vulnerabilities as possible. Red teaming is being stealthy. You want to avoid being caught. You want to evade any defense mechanisms in place by the blue team. And in order to evade the blue team, well, you need to know how the blue team thinks and some of the tools that they use. Well, in this video, I want to show you guys some very simple log analysis. So this video is for those of you who want to break into cybersecurity, especially in the blue team or the SOC. One of the things you might have to do in an interview is the interviewer might give you some logs. They might share their screen, give you a list of logs and say, hey, can you tell me what attacks are being done in this log? Or if you're studying for some of the CompTIA exams, specifically the CYSA Plus or the Cybersecurity Analyst exam, you will have to do this because I have that cert. I remember doing this. I think it was in the performance-based questions as well as throughout the exam. They would give you a list of logs and say, hey, what attack is happening in this log? So let's do that together. I recently did this machine, or this challenge room on Try Hack Me, and I highly recommend it. I had a lot of fun. API Wizards Breach. If you missed my live stream on that, well, I released it as a standalone video on my YouTube channel. So go to the video tab. You can watch my full live attempt at going through this room. But the whole scenario behind this room is a company has been breached, and we are doing an investigation. We've been assigned the ticket. We're digging into it, and the first thing we want to do is look at the logs. So on a Linux machine, we want to see some Nginx logs, because this is an Nginx web server API, if my memory serves me correct, that is running. So if we cd over to var and log, this is where all the logs are going to be stored. We can do lsla to see what files are here, and we see a file right here called Nginx. So let's go ahead and cd to Nginx. I'm going to clear my screen just so we're not on the bottom, and we'll do lsla. And when we do this, we have a few different logs, but one that stands out to us right here is access log.1, because it appears to have a bunch of data in it. Now, generally when you're doing this, you're actually digesting, I don't think that's the right word, ingesting, not digesting, ingesting the logs into something like Splunk in order to help with your log analysis, but it's also helpful to be able to do it on the command line. So we can just cat out access log, and we can see some interesting information and things that were happening here. So let me just let this load. There we go. It has loaded, and I want you all just to look at this. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that silly YouTube skit. Just look at it, right? Old school YouTube, but just look at it, just look at it, just look at it. By looking at these logs, can you see what attack took place? Pause my video, think about it, and then unpause it when you think you have an answer. I'll give you guys on stream to think about it for a second as well. If we look at this logs, we can see a few things that stand out to us. So we have all of these GET requests coming all at about the same time. You can see it right here, all of these different GET requests. And we know that they are doing what is called a directory brute forcing attack, something that you see me do all the time on a CTF. So like if I'm doing a CTF and I'm on here, one of the first things I do is I use dir search. You can also use, or not dir search, I use, which one do I use? What tool do I use? Well, GoBuster is one that I use, which obviously isn't installed on this machine because it's new, so we can go ahead and install that. Is dir search also not installed? This is a brand new VM. So even while I make this video, I can install some of these machines, or these tools I usually use. So I'll show you dir search. If you're brand new to some of this stuff, dir search is a tool that will brute force any directories that are in the environment. So you can run dir search, and what we would do is we would pass it a URL. I'm not going to do it here because I don't have anything pulled up, but URL, and we could do like HTTPS hacksmarter.org, and what it will do is it will try a bunch of directories from a word list. We could specify the word list like this: dirbuster directory list 2.3 medium, and it will take all the words from that word list, append it on as a directory, and see, hey, what hidden directories can we find on this web server? And if we look over at this logs, that seems to be what is happening. So they are running GoBuster or dir search or dirbuster, one of those tools, and they're getting a bunch of 404. So they're just spamming this with all of these things, and we should have some detection mechanism in place in order to notify the SOC or our team, hey, someone might be enumerating our web server because we're getting all of these failed requests. We can go through here and it looks like, oh, look, they found something on docs, which might specify, hey, we're dealing with an API if we found docs. And plus, if docs is at 200, they may have access to the Swagger or the Swagger files to see how does this API function. So they know they're working with an API. They have access to it. It looks like they have the openapi.json, which is going to tell them all of the different endpoints for the API. And then you can see they're beginning to enumerate the API. So they first hit the API itself. Then they hit zone and they get a 200 response. They hit time and they get a 200 response. And now they're saying, oh, time accepts a parameter. Let me do a test on that parameter. And then, oh, wait. If I URL encode it and escape out of that, I can run commands. So we have two attacks going on. We have directory brute forcing attack going on, and we have OS command injection or RCE remote code execution, which is not something you want your web app vulnerable to, but something that happens in the real world. I've actually discovered this on real client applications that are internet facing, where I've been able to get full RCE on their application just like this. So first they're running Who Am I? Then they're running PWD, or present working directory, to get a lay of the land. Then they're running ID to figure out, hey, what groups is our user in? Then they're saying, hey, what SSH? Do we have SSH on this machine? And it says we do. So now what they're doing is they're making a directory in the dev user's home environment for SSH. And then they're changing the mod of it so that they can use it. And what they're doing now is they're setting up initial access so they have better access to the environment. Something I do often on CTFs when I get access right away. They are echoing in their public SSH key into the authorized keys file in the dev users folder. So then with that, they can SSH to the machine as the dev user and work on fully compromising the machine. Now, if you want to see what the threat actor did, how they elevated the privileges and all that fun stuff, you can watch my standalone video where I go through that entire room, that entire challenge room, and give you my methodology and thought process. But I thought this is a fun challenge to give you an idea of the things you can discover by looking through logs post-compromise, or things you should keep in mind so you don't get compromised in the first place. So hey, hope you found this video helpful. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, share all of the fun YouTube stuff, and I will see you in the next one. There we go. My standalone, no script, no prep video. But that's it, folks. That is a night. We've been on for an hour and a half, but I've streamed quite a few times this week. Don't know if I'll be on tomorrow night. If I am, it will be the last time I'm on stream. Otherwise, there's a good chance this is my last stream until I see you all at Defcon in person. Just going to throw on my headphones so we can pull up InfoSec streams, and let's see if there's anybody streaming. I know BlazeBits isn't. Usually he's on this late at night, but he came and raided us. Let's go to infosecstreams.com. We have Black Hat Knock, which is just the Black Hat Knock. What's this person? Let me just copy this link. We'll pull it up over here.
Kids won't be kids forever. So jump into
No, they won't.
Love. Kinder Chocolate.
Oh, yeah, I've raided this person a few times, so
Smooth milk chocolate.
I'll mute this. It's a Spanish Twitch channel, but the dude's really nice and I always love showing him support. So let's go ahead and raid him. If you guys want to join in the raid, please do. Even if you don't speak Spanish, just join and show your support. Our word is going to be hack smarter, not harder. And we'll show our support. If you want to join the raid, jump over on Twitch and you'll be able to join. I'm going to go back to sharing my camera. For the rest of you, thank you for hanging out. Appreciate you guys taking the time to hang out with me, and hopefully you learned something in the process. But let me go ahead and set up this raid before I sign off. Hack smarter, not harder, ladies and gentlemen, will be our raid phrase. All right, let's go ahead and do the raid. I will see you guys in the next stream. Peace out.